All right, what's good, everybody? So it's official. Tim Tszyu is now the WBO champion. He's been elevated, and he is the new official email champ. But with that said, I've been watching some recent interviews with Tim Tszyu, and I like what I'm hearing from him because he sounds like somebody that's cut from the cloth. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Tough Glove Boxing. I am locked in, and let's get ready to talk about it. All right, what's good, everybody? So let's have this conversation. Now, before we get into this conversation, I want everybody to understand one thing. I know you may be used to new to my channel, and you may not have gone back a few videos, a few months of my videos, but I'm going to show you guys everything so you can know that I always stand on my square. I'm not a flip-floppy type of person. I love the sport of boxing more than I love any boxer. We all know Jermell Charlo was one of my favorite fighters. He still has to redeem himself from that last Canelo performance and his lack of effort. But with that said, I don't want this to be misconstrued into anybody saying that I'm jumping ship on Jermell Charlo. If we can get the old Jermell Charlo, the Jermell Charlo that fought Castano in that second fight, I still believe he pulls out a victory against Tim Tszyu. But the question is, how does he recover from the backlash in the recent performance that he just had with Canelo? So as you can see on my screen here, I'm going to go through, you're going to see a series of thumbnails because I have been speaking about Tim Tszyu in the past before, okay? So anybody that thinks I'm a Tim Tszyu hater, I'm going to show you how to go back and do your research. I always thought he was a live dog, and I've been calling for him and his Jermell Charlo fight forever. Now, also, as you can see in the lower part of the screen, Tim Tszyu has been on a recent stint of interviews, and I like what I'm hearing from Tim Tszyu. Number one, I like the fact that Tim Tszyu didn't stand and wait around for Jermell Charlo. He kept himself active. He fought Tony Harrison, completely surprised me with his performance, and a lot of people tried to not give him credit for that, but up until he fought Tony Harrison, everybody was calling Tony Harrison, including myself, an elite level top 5 boxer in the 154-pound division. I'm not about to take that victory away from Tim Tszyu. As you can see here, Flossy, Bossy, Aussie, live dog alert. You understand? I gave him his props immediately after that Tony Harrison fight. So before we get into content and talk about what it is that Tim Tszyu is talking about that I like to hear so much, I want you guys to go back and do a little research on my video, so I'm going to show you how to find those, okay? All you got to do is go to my video playlist. If you want to find out anything that I said about Tim Tszyu, I did when the fight was actually supposed to happen with Tim Tszyu and Jermell Charlo. I actually did a really creative breakdown. I'm hoping, yeah, it's coming up soon, guys. Let me see. Was this when he fought? Yeah, that was when he knocked out Tony Harrison, right? But there was a video that I did. Give me a second. I'm going to find it for you guys now. It's been a little while now. I don't think it was this long ago, though. Give me 1 second, guys. We're going to pull it up right now because I'm going to leave. Here it is right here. This was about 6 months ago, a creative analogy of Tim Tszyu versus Jermell Charlo, Alpha versus Sigma. That was a video that did very well at the time. You guys really liked it. I broke it down in my creative way. Also, within that same 6 months period, you'll see I have says Tim Tszyu KO over Tony Harrison, supersizes the undisputed fight. You understand? So I've always given Tim Tszyu his props, okay? I don't want anybody to misconstrue and think that I'm hating on him. Even when Jermell Charlo pulled out of the first fight, damn, I look like a billy goat here. It says, the lion refuses to visit the zoo. Jermell Charlo pulls out of Tim Tszyu bout due to injury. So that was a video I did, when I had the beard and everything, expressing how I felt about the initial pullout of the fight and my disappointment of it. But I just want to quickly show you right quick that I have always spoke of Tim Tszyu. Did Tim Tszyu make Jermell Charlo an underdog? And that was following his fight with Ocampo. Okay? So now, and I've always said that the longer Jermell Charlo stayed inactive while Tim Tszyu was active, it decreased his chances of winning. So now that Jermell Charlo has actually been in the ring, we have Tim Tszyu, he's going on his third fight this year up against Mendoza. I think Tim Tszyu beats Mendoza personally. Not that Mendoza is not a beast, not that he's not a good fighter, but if you look at Mendoza's last fight against his Sebastian Fundora, he was actually getting his behind whooped until he landed that punch. Now, I don't want to say the punch was a lucky punch. I think that sometime during that fight, he recognized a flaw that Fundora was keeping his hands down, maybe taking him a little lightly, and he was able to land the perfect, I believe it was right hand. I could be wrong because it's been a while since I watched the fight, but he ended up stopping Sebastian Fundora. To everybody's surprise, he upset the apple cart, and so now he's getting ready to get in there with Tim Tszyu. Now, Tim Tszyu is a dog, and the reason why I say that his latest stand-up interviews makes me feel like he's cut from that cloth is because, as I just stated, Tim Tszyu has been elevated to the WBO champion. He didn't earn it in the ring, and when they asked Tim Tszyu about it, while he is happy to get that belt, when they asked him about it, he doesn't make this big glorious thing. He actually jokes about it and says, look, he was on FaceTime with somebody saying, I did it without even breaking a sweat. But he don't really care about that. Tim Tszyu cares about fighting the best, like he said. So he still even though he got a belt right now, if he was really not about that smoke, he could just take that belt and say, forget about Jermell Charlo. I'll fight a couple tune-ups, you know what I'm saying? But he's actually looking to come to America. In the last video I did about Jermell Charlo, I said in order for Jermell Charlo to redeem himself, he had to go to Australia and get it the hard way. But Tim Tszyu says after the Mendoza fight, that's going to be his last fight in Australia. He wants to bring it to Jermell Charlo's backyard. So the fact that he's been elevated and still running towards the smoke with Jermell Charlo shows me that he's not just somebody that just wanted to get the belt. He shows me that he's somebody that's really putting the sport of boxing before what would obviously be some quick financial cash grabs, and I gotta respect that. When they asked him about how he felt about Charlo's performance, he said he didn't see anything about a lion. He also said that Charlo had like a survivor's type of mentality. I would argue that it was a defeatist mentality before he even stepped in the ring. So he didn't really respect it, but he said for him, according to Castano 1 and Tony Harrison 1 and 2, that wasn't really surprising. So he's always felt like he could come out on top of Jermell Charlo. I don't want people to get fooled because, like I said, Jermell Charlo, like myself, appears to be a Sigma. And the one thing about Sigma men, this is the one thing I can tell you across the board, any Sigma man who identifies with that personality type will tell you that you might do something to them and they might not even retaliate towards you in that way, because to a Sigma, the best revenge is success. You understand? So I think with all of the backlash that Charlo was getting and everything, he's going to use that. And especially, they're even bullying his brother's kids at school. I actually had to laugh at that. Right quick, let's jump off the subject for a minute. When Jermell Charlo came out on that live with his kids and said that the kids didn't want to go back to school because they were getting bullied, people coming up to them saying, your uncle lost. The funniest part to me was when his son said people are actually walking up to him and kneeling. I admit, kids shouldn't be bullied and everything like that, but I cracked up because I'm from the Bronx, New York, man. Snapping, that was just what it was. Like, if you could get any advantage over somebody in a snapping or y'all talking ish back and forth, I had to grow up through that, and I didn't have a parent that said, you shouldn't go, you leave my son alone. I was like, so what? They said, get your ass back out there. If I had a fight, if I ran, I was never able to run from a fight. The one time that I did run from a group of guys, my mother brought my ass back outside when she got home from work and made me fight these mugs one-on-one. And I found out most of them couldn't fight. I took some L's, I won some. And what happened is, quick story time, my mother asked me, she came home from work and said, John, go to the store. So I'm like, why don't you send my brother? Because I know the group of dudes that was chasing me, they down there. They live down there. As soon as I go over there, it's going to be on. And she said, you effing punk, get your bitch ass outside. This is my mother. Don't you ever run from no blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? And she took me back out there. And what happened, I found out later, is that as she was getting out the cab to come home and walk upstairs in the house, they were screaming up the block, we gonna whoop your son ass. We gonna do this. So she set me up. She was like, John, go to the store to see what my reaction was gonna be. And when she saw that I was hesitant, she let me have it and brought my ass back out there, and I had to fight one-on-one. Then not only that, she made it hard for me to go back to school the next day because she walked me partly to the school while the dudes was in front of her, and she like, won't y'all fight him again right now? Won't y'all fight him again? So That's the type of background that I come from. So I was actually laughing when Jermell Charlo said that they was coming up to his kids, bullying him and making him get on the knee. Because in my generation, look, you didn't bow down to the bullies, at least not from the cloth that my mother and family line, because once you run, you're going to be running forever. So you might as well stand and face that smoke. So that was a quick story time right quick that, Jermell Charlo coming out saying his kids was getting bullied and everybody walking up to them kneeling. That inspired that story. I thought it was hilarious. But Tim Tszyu, the thing I like about it is when they ask him about how he feels about being elevated, he's like, it's no big deal. Like, I don't even really care about that. I'm in a sport to fight the best, right? He said he didn't really feel no type of way. He said also, though, that he's not mad because that's Charlo's own fault. He says you have to have some type of consequence for how you're moving. I'm not going to play the interviews. Fight Hub got one. There was another guy. I'll link the interviews in the description so you guys can go check out the full interviews by yourself. But it made me feel like, yeah, man, he really is Costa Tszyu's son. Like, he's not trying to get a handout. He's not trying to use that as an advantage. He's all about, I'm with that ish. I want my respect as a fighter, and I'm willing to do what I got to do to take it into a ring. It's just that the opponent that I was supposed to get in there with to prove myself against made some other moves. And you got to respect that. 100%. You can't be mad at him for that, right? Because that does fall on Charlo's side. We really can't blame Tim Tszyu because Jermell Charlo decided to get the payday, right? Now, again, like I said, knowing the personality type of Jermell, and I really suspect that he is of the same personality type as me. That don't mean, I'm a fighter. And it just means we go about handling things different way. I think that the backlash was really important. I think us as Jermell Charlo fans holding him accountable for the nonsense that he displayed, despite whoever tries to make excuses for him. I think he's going to use that as motivation. He's going to come back angry, right? Despite what everybody like to say, he only got that angry energy for black fighters. That's not true. He had it with Castano. He had it with, when he fought, what was that guy's name? The guy when he was supposed to fight Tony Harrison for the second fight, was it Coda? Hold on a second. But I think it was either it was a Latino guy. We're gonna find out. We're gonna get it right, guys. But anyway, I like what I'm hearing from Tim Tszyu. I like the fact that even though he has been elevated, he's running towards the smoke. Yep, you're gonna see Jermell Charlo Paul. We're gonna get the names right, man. It's time for me to stop getting on my own, man, and get these names right. I appreciate your patience with that. But when he fought Jorge Cota. Yeah, when he fought Cota, he had the same energy for him. Everybody he's ever been in the ring with, he has that same energy except with the Canelo fight, right? So I don't think that he just reserves that type of energy for black fighters and everybody calling him a coon or us that support him a coon. But I think that this is going to teach him a lesson. And now that he feels like he has something to prove, especially if Tim Tszyu is letting you know, I want that Jermell Charlo smoke in America. We all know what Tim Tszyu coming to do. Tim Tszyu has been putting on since he's been in the scene. He's faced some adversity. We've seen how he responded to that adversity. He's comfortable in the combat zone. He's going to meet force with force. And him and Jermell Charlo is going to be an exciting fight. I think that he's going to get Mendoza up out of there, maybe around the 6th, 7th. And I don't want anybody to think I'm sleeping on Mendoza. He got that one-punch knockout power. He could very well upset the apple cart again. And then we'll probably get Mendoza versus Jermell Charlo because the first thing, Jermell Charlo, because the first thing Jermell wants to do, is get his belt back. He wants to get that undisputed status back, okay? If he can somehow get that undisputed status back, especially in dramatic fashion, then he can reignite the fires that the fans have to see him face Terence Crawford at 154, which is really what we should have saw in the first place. He should have fought Tim Tszyu to stay active and then waited for the outcome of Errol Spence and Terence Crawford and took that fight. He's not a fortune teller. I don't blame him for fighting Canelo. I just blame him for his performance while he fought Canelo. But I just wanted to come on here right quick. I don't want to make a whole long video. I've been giving you guys pretty much content, and I don't want to wear out my welcome. You understand what I'm saying? But at the same time, we have to give credit where it's due. Tim Tszyu has been elevated. He is the email champ, just like Devin Haney was the email champ. And I didn't like people calling Devin Haney the email champ, especially the Aussies. Okay? I didn't like them calling Devin Haney the email champ, but I see how when Devin Haney got that belt, he didn't just get it and fight a bunch of nobodies. He got that belt and he used that belt as leverage to finally try to pressure people who had the other belts into the major fights. He tried to use that belt to get the Teofimo Lopez fight. He tried to use that belt to get the Lomachenko fight, and he used it to get the George Kambosos fight, in which he got all of the belts, and that was able to set up the Lomachenko fight. So while Devin Haney was initially the email champ, he cleaned up the whole lightweight division with that franchise and all the email. He cleaned all of that up. So shout out to Devin Haney for doing that. Now we see Tim. As you can see here, he's been elevated. And he's happy he got the belt, right? He says he didn't earn it in the ring. He makes note of that, and that's very important in letting me know how he thinks that. He don't really care about that. He's in there to fight the best. Costa Tszyu was a beast. If y'all haven't seen Tim Tszyu's father fight, he didn't have to face Ricky Hatton. He didn't have to face a lot of the fighters that he fought. You understand? He went up in there and upset Zab Judah. Zab Judah's a monster. You understand? Always has been, even today. You better watch careful how you talk to Zab Judah. That's just the fact of how it is. Respect to the OG. You understand what I'm saying? He's cut from that cloth. So it's good to see that Timmy, I don't know where Tim Tszyu's brother stands as of yet in the game, right? But as far as Tim Tszyu, you understand what I'm saying? He has upheld that fighter's spirit, like that whole, he embodies what a real boxer is supposed to be in the sport of boxing. So I have to congratulate him. I have to salute him. I'm happy to hear that he's willing to not even put the pressure on Jermell Charlo and use the recent performance of Jermell Charlo to play A-side, B-side games, and now you got to come to Australia and do all of that. I'm glad he's not even worried about using that. All he wants to do is get in there and fight the best in his division, and you have to respect that. I know, Mark Wynn, you smiling from ear to ear right now, you know what I'm saying? But I have to give it up where it's deserved. You know, and I was very impressed with what I heard in the interviews, and it looks like Tim Tszyu is all about that smoke. He didn't stay inactive when Jermell Charlo pushed off the fights, which shows that he really is ready to take risks. He risked going in there with Tony Harrison. He risked going in there with Ocampo. You understand? Albeit an older Ocampo, but it's still what it is. He didn't, you know, and he's going in there now with Mendoza. That's another risk. Mendoza just upset Sebastian Fundora. We all know what Fundora was. It was a monster, right? He was a monster at 154 and still is a monster today. So we saw what happened with him and Lubin, a dog. But Mendoza had that power. Mendoza had that timing. And I think this is actually a good matchup for Tim Tszyu. Even though Mendoza doesn't really fight like Jermell Charlo, that is the... Excuse you, Blue. Bless you, baby girl. That's my pity. She be sleeping behind me in the daytime because all night she spend patrolling the house and making sure we good up in the crib, you dig? But so yeah, that's how I feel about Tim Tszyu. Get in the comment section. I still got Jermell Charlo over Tim Tszyu, providing he can use this energy that he's getting right now to have success is the best type of revenge mentality. I think he's hungry. I think the recent backlash has probably ignited something in him. At least I hope it did, because this performance and how he prepares and how he shows up and how he carries himself going into this fight with Tim Tszyu, providing Tim Tszyu gets past Mendoza, which I predict he will, that's going to say a lot. That's going to say if Jermell Charlo is ready to retire, which I don't think he should be. He's still got a lot left in the tank. He's only 33 years old. I think he's still got a good another 3 years left. You understand what I'm saying? And if he can get past Tim Tszyu, then he got some great big money fights lined up for him after that. Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, you know, he'll be the reigning king at 154 again. Now, also, we got to take into account that if Tim Tszyu comes out on top of Jermell Charlo, at least I hope it's competitive, because that way we'll get that rematch. I'm pretty sure Jermell Charlo is not going to go into a risky fight with Tim Tszyu without there being a rematch clause, and so that's what it is. Get in the comment section, hit the like button. I got a notification in my comment section from one of my subscribers today, family members like I like to call them, my cousins, you know what I mean? And they said that they're not getting the notification, so make sure you hit the notification and make sure you get all of the updated videos that I put out. Tough Love Boxing. We out.
You ain't gotta go home, but you gotta get the hell up out of here.